Hi, I'm Valerie Engelhart, and in this video I am doing another surreal portrait on hot press paper inspired by 2023 Inktober prompt, and this one was inspired by Dodge. So when I saw Dodge, I thought dodge a bullet, and so I am going to be painting this woman in a way that I've thought of dodging a bullet. So I'm technically using two colors in this one, both by Rockwell Canada. I am using Alexandria Diamond Purple and, oh, let's see what that other one is, Valentine Purple. The Valentine Purple is kind of almost like a lavender color, so it doesn't show up a lot in this video, but I'm using it there just to create a nice light value. It's a little creamier. But for the most part, I am using that darker purple, that Alexandria Diamond Purple. One thing I like about the Rockwell Canada paints is their granulating nature, and you do get a granulating effect even on hot press paper, and they typically split into a couple of colors, so it's a clever way to use only one or two tubes of paint but get a wide variety. So I have already gone in with some swirls. I'm putting in kind of where I think I want things like the lips, the nose, the eye to go, but I'm not committing at this point. I'm just sort of putting in little roadmaps for me to darken later. Now, those little swirlies on the side of her head, that is due to the idea of dodging a bullet. She somehow in her physical form has morphed so that she could physically dodge a bullet without doing anything. And in this, I'm giving her a very serene look. Her eye, well, both of her eyes are closed, but you really are only going to see one of them. When I do this painting, because I'm trying to do it in less than 30 minutes, and I completed this painting pretty quickly. I did speed up this video a bit, but only at 150%, so really only speeding it up just enough that we don't get too hung up whenever I'm hovering with my brush trying to decide where do I want to put that next brush stroke. So I've added in a line and a dot for the nostril, and I've gone in and painted the area where her lips are going to be. The paper was wetter than I thought, so it spread a bit more, but I'm not concerned about it. I am just going to keep going because the point of this is to get more comfortable painting people on hot press paper in a short amount of time without using a preliminary sketch. And I know it might sound silly, but it can sometimes be kind of scary to try and paint a person, especially without sketching things out first. And I know that whole it's paint, it's paper, what's scary about it? Well, for one, this paper isn't cheap. It's Arch hot press. Even a smaller size is still, a bit of money. And I recommend getting really good tools because it handles the paint better. You're going to have more fun. But I think the bigger problem is this idea of if this painting fails, it will prove that I'm really no good as an artist. And so that's another thing that I'm working to combat. So when I lay something down, leave it. Don't fiddle. Don't try to fix. Just paintings, all paintings, I don't care what medium, but they go through that messy middle, the ugly stage where you could have a great roadmap down of shapes and values and it still just does not look right. And it's easy at that point to fall into despair and be like, yep, this painting's no good. Why am I wasting time? I encourage you, keep going. So even though those lips came out a little too wide, a little too dark, I can still go in and quote unquote fix them. In that maybe just a line or a shift in value somewhere. Because I'm not trying to paint the perfect face, I am just painting an idea that I had. And it's okay to just go with the flow. And if anything, if you have confident brush strokes and it looks like you were confident in placing your shapes, then it's easy to assume that, oh, well, I just meant it to be like that. And so many times paintings just evolve on their own. I can't think of many paintings that actually turned out the way I intended. But a quick tip for how do I even know what I'm doing? Well, for starters, I'm used to painting without a sketch. So what I typically do is, if I'm a little uncertain of my subject, I have an app, it's like called Grid, and it has a notenizer, which just means it will break up my values in black and white. And so what I'll do is I'll import a photo, and I'll input what the size of my paper is and put a grid, and I'll typically divide it into essentially not exactly quarters, so I guess eighths, like 4 rows and 4 columns. And then I just sort of visualize about where that is on my paper. And then with the notenizer, I can break a subject down into black and white so I don't get hung up on color. And I can adjust how many levels or how many tones or values. And I'll typically keep it at 3. I'll have my light, which I'll typically leave the white of the paper or a very light wash, my mid-tones, and then my darkest tones. And then that way I just focus on my values instead of getting hung up on color or getting too hung up on what I think a face is supposed to look like. I just look at this notenizer and see, oh, that's kind of a line with a triangle on the end in that position. Okay, we'll paint that. And eventually, once those shapes and values come together, the viewer can fill in the rest. They can see, oh, it's a face. And in this case, it is a face that has some weird stuff going on one side because, like I said, this is a surreal portrait where she has dodged a bullet. All right, well, here's the finished painting. If you like what you saw, please give this video a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I would love to know what you would like to see from me. And you can also let me know in the comments. All right, well, have a good one. Bye.